got Ashton Kutcher in love with Mila Kunis on that 70s show. Then they break up for absolutely no reason after he starts hanging out with Diddy. Then he marries Demi Moore, who drained him of all the adrenochrome she can, and apparently he replenished himself by doing inappropriate things with their daughters.
I had a big life, and Ashton's adult life was just beginning. I didn't see all that because I was inside of it. I just felt like a 15-year-old girl hoping somebody liked me.
That's all true. I think that I had been responsible for so much of my life. And all of a sudden this window opened up where I was safe, I had money, he loved my children. It wasn't something he feared. He seemed to be comfortable with the enormity of the ex-husband. I mean, I felt like I was not coming with baggage, I had trunks.
Demi Moore is pulling back the curtain on the highs and harrowing lows of her life. This time delving into one of the most talked about chapters, her marriage to Ashton Kutcher. Demi detailed how the whirlwind romance, which began with passion and possibility, quickly turned dark and became a source of deep emotional strain after Diddy got into the picture. She spoke openly about feeling pressured to mold herself into the version of a partner she thought Kutcher wanted. Someone younger, freer, and more experimental, if you know what I mean. And this chipped away at her sense of identity. During their years together, Moore revealed, she found herself crossing personal boundaries and making compromises that left lasting scars. The pressures of maintaining a picture-perfect relationship in the glare of the public eye collided with her private battles, ultimately feeding into a dangerous spiral of addiction and self-doubt. Nights that began with trying to be the cool, fun partner often ended in self-destructive choices that pushed her further from herself. Guys, none of you are ready to hear just how shocking things got and why Ashton was the mastermind behind it all. Now, Demi Moore was born on November 11th, 1962 in Roswell, New Mexico. Her earliest years were shaped by instability, poverty, and trauma. Her father abandoned the family before she was born, and her stepfather's presence did little to fill that void. Both parents battled heavy drinking, and the family moved constantly, leaving young Demi without a sense of security or a stable home. The most devastating blows came early. At just 12 years old, Demi was forced into a moment no child should endure: her mother's attempted deletion. She vividly recalled the panic of trying to save her, an experience that stripped away the last remnants of childhood innocence. But perhaps the deepest wound came at 15, when her mother allowed an older man to pay for the chance to exploit her. That betrayal, Moore says, left scars that would follow her for decades, fueling a complicated relationship with trust, intimacy, and self-worth. School offered no sanctuary. Struggling with undiagnosed dyslexia and enduring multiple surgeries to correct crossed eyes, Moore found herself on the margins, isolated, misunderstood, and restless. By 16, she dropped out entirely, choosing independence over chaos. She supported herself through odd jobs and modeling gigs, carving out a fragile autonomy while nurturing dreams that felt impossibly far from her reality. Demi's big break came after her breakout performance in General Hospital and the success of St. Elmo's Fire. She became one of the most bankable actresses of the early 90s. But her rise wasn't without turbulence. Behind the glamorous premieres and blockbuster paychecks, she continued to wrestle with the same inner battles that had haunted her since childhood: addiction, insecurity, and the deep-seated fear of abandonment. Her role in Ghost catapulted her to global superstardom, transforming her from a promising young actress into a household name. The film's unprecedented success not only secured her place in Hollywood's A-list, but also gave her the negotiating power to command record-breaking salaries for future projects. Hits like A Few Good Men, Indecent Proposal, and Disclosure kept her in the public eye, and she became known for her fierce work ethic and ability to portray women who were strong yet emotionally layered. But the mid-90s also brought intense scrutiny. Her choices, both on and off the screen, were dissected relentlessly. When she shaved her head for G.I. Jane, it was a bold career move that polarized audiences. The same daring spirit that made her a trailblazer also left her vulnerable to criticism, and the pressure to maintain her image began to take its toll. It was during this period of career highs and personal challenges that Moore's private life took center stage, especially her relationships, most famously her marriage to actor Ashton Kutcher. This chapter of her life would become one of her most publicly scrutinized and emotionally complex, ultimately shaping her later struggles and her eventual path towards self-acceptance. Demi's marriage to Ashton Kutcher was a period filled with both hope and heartbreak, a relationship that started like a fairy tale but unraveled in a way that left deep emotional wounds. When they first met in 2003, the public fascination was immediate. The 15-year age gap became a tabloid obsession, with paparazzi chronicling their every move. Despite the scrutiny, Demi embraced the relationship wholeheartedly, throwing herself into the idea of building a life with Ashton. They seemed inseparable, sharing red carpets, vacations, and an unconventional but blended family life with Demi's 3 daughters from her marriage to Bruce Willis. But behind the photogenic smiles, cracks began to form. The devastating miscarriage early in their relationship was a silent grief that Demi carried, and the emotional gap it created was never fully bridged. Her account of Ashton questioning the reality of alcoholism after she had been sober for 2 decades marked a pivotal moment. His casual remark about moderation wasn't just about wine. To Demi, it felt like a subtle challenge to her identity and her hard-earned sobriety. Wanting to please him, she began drinking again, a decision that would unravel years of recovery. Then came the threesomes, something Ashton picked up during his time partying with Diddy. Now, these infamous threesomes were something Demi agreed to, not because she truly wanted to, but because she wanted to be the fun partner Ashton envisioned. In her memoir, she wrote with brutal honesty about how those choices, made in the name of love, ultimately blurred boundaries and opened the door to betrayal. The breaking point came when she learned, via a Google alert of all things, that Ashton had cheated during Danny Masterson's bachelor party in San Diego. His justification that their past threesomes somehow lessened the seriousness of his infidelity was a gut punch. When he cheated again and admitted it immediately, it wasn't just a breach of trust, it was confirmation that the foundation of their marriage had eroded beyond repair. By 2011, the separation was public and painful. For Demi, it wasn't just the loss of a husband. It was the collapse of an identity she had built around the relationship. The end of her marriage to Ashton plunged her into one of the darkest periods of her life, fueling struggles with addiction, health scares, and emotional breakdowns that would take years to heal from. Now, Diddy's Sean recollection of Ashton Kutcher's marriage to Demi is completely different from Demi's. In a 2010 Time essay, Diddy shared how, in the early 2000s, he and Ashton's were regulars in the Los Angeles club scene, living the Hollywood bachelor lifestyle. But around 2003, that chapter abruptly closed. The reason? Demi Moore. Diddy recalled one night when Kutcher arrived with Demi, possibly one of their very first public outings together. Just a couple of weeks later, Ashton called him out of the blue with a surprising announcement: he was in love. That was the end of our clubbing, Combs wrote, suggesting that Kutcher had swapped VIP tables and late nights for something quieter, more intimate, and centered around Moore. At the time, it seemed like a love story that had the power to completely change a man's priorities. For Demi, this intense devotion must have felt like the perfect counterbalance to her own turbulent past. For Ashton, the relationship may have been a chance to redefine himself beyond the party boy image. Now, after a couple of encounters with Diddy, Demi ensured his friendship with Ashton came to an end. The pressures and compromises of their marriage would later send both of them into emotional territory just as destructive. Only this time it wasn't public clubs, but private heartbreak that would do the damage. Adding to the drama, Scott Eastwood appeared to validate the entire mess during an April 2015 episode of Watch What Happens Live. While John Cryer was being asked about working with Kutcher on 2.5 Men after both had dated Moore, Eastwood chimed in with his own revelation. He claimed his then girlfriend cheated on him with Kutcher, bluntly adding that the affair was the catalyst that broke him and Demi up. In the years since their divorce, Moore has gained a deeper perspective on love, trust, and the cost of compromise. She now speaks openly about the importance of self-love and personal growth, introducing the term solo partnering to describe her philosophy. For Moore, it's about being whole and fulfilled independently rather than seeking completion through another person. Her approach to life has shifted dramatically. Friendships have taken center stage, including an unlikely cordial relationship with Kutcher's current wife, Mila Kunis. When it comes to dating, Moore is more selective than ever, opting for a handful of carefully chosen dates that focus on genuine connection rather than the pressures of traditional romance. In this chapter of her life, Moore seems less concerned with Hollywood's expectations and more committed to writing her own definition of happiness on her own terms. Now, Demi Moore's journey is indeed a testament to resilience, self-reinvention, and the hard-earned power of self-acceptance, especially in the wake of what she endured during her marriage to Ashton Kutcher. From a childhood marked by instability, trauma, and heartbreak to becoming one of Hollywood's most bankable stars, Moore's path has been anything but easy. She navigated the highs of career-defining roles in Ghost, A Few Good Men, and Indecent Proposal, alongside the lows of personal battles with addiction, public scrutiny, and the collapse of a marriage that once captivated the tabloids. Ashton's alleged infidelity, emotional distance, and pressures for her to compromise her boundaries became turning points, forcing Moore to confront her own patterns of sacrifice in relationships. Yet, out of those challenges came transformation. Moore now speaks with candor about valuing her own worth, embracing solo partnering, and finding wholeness without depending on someone else to complete her. She has redefined her relationships, whether with family, friends, or romantic interests, on her own terms. So let me know your opinions in the comments, and don't forget to check out our other videos to ensure you are all up to date with all the latest tea. Till next time, bye.